Hello, you gorgeous individuals. It's Kavir, and today I'm here with a member of the book community who I've admired for as long as I've been in the book community, Dhonielle Clayton.
I'm so happy to be here.
She is the author of The Bells, which is a new release that just came out a few days ago, and I will put links to where you can purchase it. And today she has graciously agreed to chat with me for a bit, so we're going to do that.
Yay, thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. My first question is one that's very personal for me because I've been wondering about it for the longest amount of time. What exactly does cake literacy do?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, Cake Literary believes that making a book is like making a cake. And so when I was in grad school, I met my business partner, Sona, very chatty. We were always talking about how we didn't see ourselves enough in books when we were kids. And we definitely didn't see ourselves in the fun stuff. And so we wanted to show publishers a way to do fun books about diversity or having diverse characters. So we believe that making a book is like making a cake. And if you had to eat the same flavor of cake every day for your whole life, it would be really boring. So that's where it comes from. And what we do is Sona and I come up with ideas. Then we find writers and we hire them to write those ideas. And then our agent sells those projects to publishers. And I get to make projects with someone that I love and treasure, and we just have a lot of fun.
My follow-up question is, you're also one of the leaders of the We Need Diverse Books movement, and whereas I know about it, I'm not sure all of them do, so could you tell us a little bit about that and how you yourself got involved in it?
Sure. The We Need Diverse Books movement started in 2014, and it started as a hashtag in reaction to a panel of children's luminaries at Book Expo of America, which is one of the biggest book industry events that we have in our industry. And it was all sort of white men and a grumpy cat. There were no people of color or women of color or men of color included in the lineup. So L&O got all of her friends together and said, hey, we need to talk about why we need diverse books for our kids and for all kids in America. So it became a viral hashtag. And then we started programming to fix the issue at many different levels. From interns to grants to library awards, because the issue stems from many different places. So now I'm COO of the company, so I help run it with L&O. And we just want to make sure that every kid can walk into a bookstore and see themselves, because that's the point.
Yeah. Of course, from these two answers, you can tell that Dhonielle is someone who cares very deeply about representation, as I myself do. So, kind of for you, has there been any book or any form of media that you kind of saw yourself in for the first time, or something that was like what you hope to give readers yourself?
Well, I watch a lot of TV, and when I watch shows by Shonda Rhimes, I realize that that's what I want to do. I want to do the Shonda Rhimes of YA, and I want to show kids and teens that they can be who they are and also be doing all of these different things. So Shonda Rhimes does a great job of what's called incidental diversity. So you have doctors. They're doctors, but they're also people of color, and they are going through the drama of those things. So I want to do that for teens and for YA, because I think that we have to work on making sure that the types of stories that we tell about different people have a variety. It can't just be about pain and suffering.
Yeah.
I want magic and romance and love and going to outer space, and we deserve to see ourselves in those worlds.
So now we're going to switch gears a little bit more towards The Bells, which is the book that she's here for. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about the book?
Sure. I pitch it as Scott Westerfeld's Uglies meets Marie Antoinette's court. It's set in a world where everyone's born sort of looking degenerative or sort of gross, but there are these women that can change you for a price, down to your bones, anything about yourself. And I loved Uglies, and I wanted to take this question and wrap it around a purely female-dominated world and what it might look like if you could actually change every single thing. Hopefully, it opens up some questions.
Mm-hmm. When you were answering questions, you mentioned how you weren't always a writer. Mm-hmm. So how did you kind of get into writing?
So I just wanted to be a teacher and a librarian and a nerd. So I went and got my master's in children's literature. And I thought I was just going to be a librarian and I was going to read and nerd out and force children to read all the books I love. And then I realized that there were so many stories missing. When you read and study the canon of children's literature from back in the day when it first started, you see that it's very white, and it's very cis, and it's very hetero, and it's very able-bodied. And then it's like, whoa, there are so many stories that are missing, and I felt like I needed to write into that space and create opportunities to bring other, especially people of color and people from marginalized backgrounds, into publishing so that they can publish their own stories. So many people were writing about my community that weren't part of my community.
Yeah.
And I felt like it wasn't fair.
You kind of touched on this during the talk, but of course none of these people were here. So you are obviously someone that has talked about the importance of sensitivity readers multiple times. So like, how did sensitivity readers play into your writing of The Bell?
I had 6 sensitivity readers for The Bells. I had 12 for my first series, and I did that because I wanted to make sure that I don't know what I don't know, right? I have my own spots that I can't see, and I made some mistakes in my arc. I misgendered someone, and that's because I didn't know. And I was thinking about, in my world, how does everyone orient themselves? So my sensitivity readers were great, and they were able to help me figure out the places in my world where I needed to be more clear, to make sure that any reader who reads it can know, okay, where am I? If I was in this world, where do I belong, and where do I exist, and how can I be seen? So sensitivity readers, for me, are a part of my process. I have to have them. I don't know how to write a book without having someone else read and give me their feedback. So for me, it's a craft issue. It's making me better. And I think all writers should use them. I think the term is what makes people mad. The idea of sensitive. Even though I do think we should be sensitive to each other. We live next to each other. We share space. We share neighborhoods. We share schools. We share this planet. But that word seems to be irritating people. It's a bee in their bonnet, and they get really mad at me about it. But really, I think it's an authenticity read, and that's what I like to call it.
I like that term better.
Yeah, it is better, right?
It's better because it's more accurate for what the word actually is.
You're not being sensitive, you're being an editor, and you're reading for a very specific thing.
Of course, in your first duology, you co-wrote with Sona. So what was it like going from co-writing to writing this book on your own?
It was really sad. I missed my friend. I cried and whined to her on the phone. But what's great about her is she's my work wife.
Yeah.
So I can call her and say, I can't figure this out. Because Sona is really good at plot. She has a master's in screenwriting. So she can fix and get me out of any problem that I get myself into. I felt like I was never alone. Yes, she wasn't writing and helping me, but she could help coach me through the things that I had difficulties with. Sona's also really good at the kissy scenes and the dialogue. So what I did was, I wrote all the stuff that I was good at, which are character and world, and I left all the other stuff for later. And then I cried to her on the phone, and then she was like, okay, do this. And then that helped me get the sort of strength to go back in there and fix it.
Kind of as a follow-up to that, why did you decide to do The Bells on your own?
Well, Sona's really in the contemporary space.
Yeah.
She loves high-stakes contemporary books. That's what we do together. Her book comes out next spring, and it's about an awesome 16-year-old doctor and sort of the trials and tribulations of that. I mean, she loves fantasy, but she really does well in the contemporary space. So I just had this idea sort of haunting me for a long time. And yeah, fantasy has always been my love. It's what I started reading first. Not that she won't write a fantasy, because she does have a good fantasy idea set in the Mughal Raj, which she's working on.
Get that fantasy out there.
Yes, harass her. Looking at you, where's that Mughal Raj fantasy?
So those are all the questions. And as you can tell, Dhonielle is very well-spoken. So you can bet that her writing is going to be as beautiful as her spoken words.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
You're
of
the
course.
best.
This was such a surreal opportunity for me because I've looked up to you for so long. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day night wherever you are. And I will see you soon. Goodbye.
Thanks so much.